Welcome to Vermintide, a 4-player co-op horde game which puts you and your team against the forces of Skaven, Chaos, and Beastmen to fight for the world during the end times. Vermintide is a fast-paced game full of decision-making, quick wits, and bloody melee combat. If you're brand new to the game, there are some aspects of Vermintide that might leave you confused, but that's why we're here. My name is jtcLIVE.
And my name is Wetmagic.
And this is the ultimate beginner's guide to Vermintide.
The first thing we need to discuss when talking about Vermintide 2 for newer players is the level system. The most common way to get XP in this game is by playing missions. Completing a mission will give you XP, which will help level up your hero. The maximum attainable level will be 35. And as you level up, you will gain new talents every 5 levels up to level 30. That means you can gain 5 extra levels after you have unlocked all the talents. In turn, while you're leveling up, you will unlock new careers. So you will unlock the base career at level 1 for every character. And as you level up, the second career will be unlocked at level 7 and the third at level 12. In addition, some characters have DLC classes, a 4th career, which can be purchased for about $3 or $4. So when you're playing a mission, not only will completing it give you XP, but finding all the books, that is the tomes and the grimoires, are critical because these will give you even more XP, which will help you level up faster. In addition to giving you more XP, finishing a run with all the books will give you a rarer chest. And a more rare chest increases the odds that you will get higher quality gear. Now there are 5 different classifications for gear as shown by color. There is the lowest quality, which is white gear, which doesn't have any properties and has no trait. There is green gear, the next one above, which has 1 property and no trait. Then there's blue with 2 properties and no trait. Next up is orange, 2 properties and 1 trait. And then red gear, the highest quality of gear you can get, has 2 properties, but the value is maxed out and a trait. Now let's talk about power for a second. Vermintide 2 calculates its in-game damage and stagger and cleave and all that, the important stuff that you would do with a weapon, through a power system. That is the combination of the power that you get from leveling and your weapon power. These two are added together to create an overall hero power, which is used to calculate your damage, how far you can knock things over, knock them out of the way, how much stuff you can cleave a weapon through. It determines everything. This is the most important thing you can improve upon if you want to become a better player. The max power level is 650. That is when you hit level 35, you will gain 350 power just for being level 35. And then the max power on a weapon is 300. Add those together, you get 650. That is your maximum attainable hero power. Power can be boosted further from in-game talents and team coordination, but that is the base maximum hero power that you can attain. Now that we know how power works and how loot drops work with tomes and grims, let's talk about how we can further improve our gear. So in addition to obtaining loot through chests, you can also craft gear, as well as upgrade gear, up to the rarest quality being red. This is done through the process of salvaging old gear that you don't need. This will turn that unwanted gear into resources and dust that you can use to further improve the weapons that you do want. In addition to crafting and upgrading gear, you can also re-roll the properties and the trait on gear if they have them. So if you have orange and higher gear, you can re-roll the properties and the traits. If you have just blue or green gear, you can only re-roll the properties. And re-rolling is most often done through green and blue dust for your properties, and then orange dust for your trait. Orange dust obtained through salvaging orange items, blue and green dust obtained from salvaging blue and green items. I believe you get the idea. Temporary health, also called temp health or THP, is the most important way to stay alive without using healing items. So temp health is determined through the level 5 talent on every career, They all have different ones depending on what type of character they are, but all the temp health talents include staggering for THP, which has no limit, but you only get temp health if you hit an enemy, staggering it, but not killing it. So if you kill an enemy, you won't get any temp health. Damaging for THP, which is capped off at a max of 5 temp health per swing. So if you swing once, hit 5 enemies, you'll get 5 temp health. If you swing once, hit 1 enemy, you'll get 1 temp health. And then there's killing blows for temp health, which is based off the health of the enemy that you kill. So obviously if you kill like a clan rat, you're not going to get very much, but if you kill an elite, a chaos warrior, or even a monster, you're going to get much more. And then the final one are crits and headshots for temp health. Crits and headshots give 2 temp health, and crit headshots give 4 per attack. And these are only for melee, by the way. Huntsman has a talent where it's like crits and headshots, but it's for ranged. He's the only one that has something like this. Everyone else will have these basic talents for gaining temp health. And every career also has a third option, which is just commonly referred to as heal share, which is if you heal with an item, it will also heal everybody around you, but you cannot make temp health with this talent. However, it is useful for clearing multiple wounds with 1 potion, or healing wraps. Temp health is displayed as white health on your bar and can often be made very quickly, but the downside is that it decays quickly as well. So be sure to set up your temp health according to whatever weapon you're using. Staggering for THP would be good with something like Sienna's Flame Sword because it doesn't do a lot of initial damage, so it's not going to kill things from its contact, but it is very good at swiping through things, cleaving through enemies. You can hit lots of things at once. It makes very good temp health. Damaging for THP is best done with a faster weapon, something like Saltspire's Rapier. This would allow you to make temp health very quickly, even though you are only getting 5 per swing. Killing blows is done with weapons that do lots of damage, something like the Sword and Dagger, something like maybe the Glaive, Barden's Coghammer, for example, things that can take out elites pretty quickly. Crits and headshots are done with weapons that can easily headshot and are also fast. Something like dual swords would be pretty good for that. Certain abilities in-game do affect the amount of temp health you can make. You can take the trait of Boon of Shalia on your necklace, which will increase all healing received by 30%. That works for temp health as well, which is the main reason to take that. If you're on a team with Sister of the Thorn, you make 25% increased healing, which does help for temp health. And of course, if you have both these things, they stack for an increase in 55% healing. You can be making 1.5 times the temp health per swing, which is quite nice. If you happen to go down or die in a mission on a difficulty of champion or higher, one time you will go down, and if you are picked up by a teammate, you will see that everything is now gray. This is called either being gray or having a wound or having a skull, as depicted by the little skull icon near your health. This means that if you go down again, you are permanently dead until you respawn. Using healing items can clear a wound. A healing draft is an easy way to clear a wound. Wraps also work. If you have 2 people with wounds and 1 person with wraps, that person can heal the other person, which will clear their wounds, which will clear both wounds, which is a good way to conserve supplies. If you have an entire team of wounded people, all 4 of you are wounded, 1 person with heal share can drink a healing draft in close enough proximity to the team, and all wounds will be cleared. It is very important to pay attention to who is wounded on a team, because that is the person that should get the healing. Healing should not be used if you are low enough health, because you can make temp health as to sort of act as a buffer between you and death. It is the person with the wound that deserves healing, because they are the ones who will die and not come back if they are downed again.
Upon reaching level 15, you unlock the Stagger talents for that career. No matter which career you choose to play, level 15 will always hold the Stagger talents for that career, although the specific talents that you might find will differ depending on the specific career you play. However, before diving into what these talents do, we must first understand the basic mechanic of Stagger in Vermintide. When the Winds of Magic DLC was released on August 13th of 2019, the Stagger system was also introduced into Vermintide. The stagger system made the stagger mechanic much more significant in combat, as enemies take increased amounts of damage depending on how many times you stagger them. Stagger in this context simply refers to any action which interrupts an enemy's attack and causes them to flinch, which can be achieved through attacking, pushing, or using any ability that causes knockback. Keep in mind that an enemy is only considered to be in the staggered state if their animation reflects it, meaning that any enemy who is able to ignore your attack and continue attacking through it is not considered staggered. Each time you interact with an enemy and cause them to become staggered, they gain a, for the lack of a better term, a stack of stagger that causes them to take increased damage, up to a maximum of 2 stacks. 20% increased damage on the first stack and 40% on the second stack, commonly referred to as Staggered 1 and Staggered 2. These values are not additive, meaning that you will only do 40% increased damage when attacking an enemy in Staggered 2, not 60%. Now that we understand the Stagger system, we can begin to discuss the Stagger talents unlocked at level 15. These talents simply enhance the Stagger system, giving you different options to help you get the most out of your weapons. Mainstay simply increases the extra damage gained from Stagger 1 and Stagger 2 from 20 and 40% up to 40 and 60%. This is best used on weapons meant for horde clearing, such as two-handed sword. Smiter makes it so that the first enemy hit with any attack is automatically considered to be in Stagger 1, even if they are currently not in a state of stagger at the time. This is best used on weapons that have high single target damage and little to no cleave, such as one-handed axe. Bulwark adds a debuff to enemies that you yourself stagger, increasing the amount of damage they take from melee attacks by 10%. This damage is additive with stacks of stagger, meaning you will do 30 and 50% increased damage to enemies with this debuff on them, or 50 and 70% with mainstay. This is best used on weapons with very high cleave and stagger, such as shields. Assassin makes it so that enemies hit with headshots or critical hits are automatically considered to be in Stagger 2, even if they are currently not in any state of stagger at the time. This is best used on high crit chance weapons or weapons you tend to aim for the head for, such as rapier or dual daggers. Lastly, Enhanced Power increases your total base hero power by roughly 7.5%. This is best used on careers you are trying to reach a specific breakpoint for on their ranged weapons, as Enhanced Power is the only stagger talent that affects the damage of ranged weapons. Enhanced Power isn't as useful for melee-focused builds, as the perk gives less overall damage than if you were using Mainstay, as the increased damage while using Mainstay at Stagger 2 is 60%, but only around 50% when using Enhanced Power. Now, just because one of these talents suits a weapon doesn't mean you should never consider any of the other options for that weapon, as different builds can accomplish different things. The example I always go with is Executioner Sword, which makes an outstanding horde clearing weapon when you run it with Mainstay. However, using Smiter instead of Mainstay allows you to reach the required power threshold to one-shot headshot Stormvermin with a heavy attack much more easily than if you were using Mainstay, which is why you should spend some time experimenting with weapons and stagger talents to see what combination works best for you. Throughout your games, you will come across 3 different kinds of potions that will boost your combat effectiveness in different ways depending on the potion you find. The blue potion, the Potion of Speed, boosts your base attack speed and movement speed for the potion's duration. The yellow potion, the Potion of Strength, boosts the damage you do through all means, melee and ranged, for the potion's duration. All of your attacks will also become shield breaking during this time, meaning that all of your attacks will instantly break any wooden shield used by the enemy. Lastly, the purple potion, the Potion of Concentration, increases the rate at which your career ability, or the ultimate ability, recharges at. You can only carry one of these potions at a time in your 4th inventory slot, which is also the inventory slot for the grimoire. You can't carry both of these items at the same time, so make sure to communicate with your team beforehand to decide who will be carrying the grims and the potions. The traits of your charm are dedicated to these 3 potions, offering various boons depending on which trait you choose. There are simpler options, such as increasing the duration of potions or adding in a chance to not consume your potion when you use it, but there are also some more interesting options, such as gaining the effect of all 3 potions at once no matter which potion you drink, or gaining the ability to share the potion's effect with your team. Lastly, a very common question that I hear pretty often is, when should I drink my potion? This is what I like to call a loaded question, since the answer to this fully depends on the situation you are in and the circumstances around that situation. A good rule of thumb to follow regarding potion use, however, is not to use it reactively, but proactively. What I mean by this is to read the situation around you unfolding and to use your potion before a bad situation happens to prevent that bad situation from happening in the first place. If you only use your potions to react to bad situations, you may drink it when it is too late to save yourself or your team from doom. But if you learn to read your situation and learn how to read bad outcomes, you can prevent countless deaths and wipes from occurring in the first place. If you'd like to go more in-depth regarding potion use in Vermintide, be sure to check out my 2-part guide on potion use. Because Vermintide is a team-based game with many different careers to play, it makes sense that you'd ask what role each career falls into. The answer to this is a little complicated though, because your stereotypical roles of damage, tank, support, and other character-based games does not work, as Vermintide is unique in this genre even though it is still a character-based game. Every career in the game is expected to be a damage dealer, there is no true support character, there is no such thing as a healer, and so on. However, this does not mean that it's impossible to fit these careers into roles, as there are adequate roles that can be assigned to these different careers, which I would describe as the following. Horde Control, who focuses on killing and controlling the large hordes of enemies. Elite Control, who focus on killing armored units before they become a large threat, or deal with them when they do. Special Control, who focus on killing special units before they overwhelm the team. Boss Control, who focus on killing bosses as fast as possible. Tanks, who focus on drawing the aggro of mass amounts of enemies to give the rest of the team some breathing room. And what I call utility, who don't have a specific job, but do whatever is needed in the heat of the moment to keep the team alive. So now that we have actual roles means we can assign each career into these roles, right? Not exactly. You see, while it is true that some careers are strongly designed to be played as specific roles, many of the careers present in Vermintide have the potential to fill different roles, which is usually determined by what weapons you are running on them. For example, Mercenary with sword and shield and handgun makes for a very good tank special killer, but Mercenary with sword and mace and repeater handgun, and maybe a talent change or two, makes for a fantastic horde control and elite killer instead. If you want to fill a specific role in the group, make sure to not only look at which career to play, but also the weapons at your disposal. Also make sure to look at the characteristics of each weapon, as it will give you an idea of what each weapon is best used for. Speaking of roles, you may have also noticed that I listed 6 roles, yet there are only 4 players in each match. This means that in order to cover all of these roles, you will need to double or even triple up on roles in order to cover all of them. But that is alright, since many of the careers in Vermintide already cover 2 or more of these specific roles. Personally, I'd recommend you take the time to experiment with different careers to see which career fits which roles best and which careers are the most fun for you, but if you'd prefer to skip the experimentation phase and get straight to the facts, you can check out the excellent character guides created by Royale with Cheese.